I'd like to start with something I just heard Tara Brock share, and it's on how to deal with overwhelm. And overwhelm can come up for so many reasons. It can come up if you have a medical issue that's really driving you crazy, like I do, and some of my clients and friends do. It can come up for financial reasons or something unexpected happened. It can come up just for having too much to do and running around too much. So overwhelm is really interesting because the actual term means you have no resources to deal with it. It's so big that it shuts you down. And and we feel like we're in overwhelm, but we do have resources. And one of those resources is obviously the breath. And then secondly, it's to befriend whatever the overwhelm is really about. So if you don't mind, pick something out today that feels a little overwhelming and take a minute just to focus on that. Pick whatever topic it is that seems to be overwhelming your system right now and name it. Name the feeling that goes with it. Are you feeling irritated, angry? Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling fear? What's the feeling that's associated with whatever feels a little overwhelming to you right now? So now we're going to breathe in for 4 seconds, take a small pause, and then extend the breath, maybe up to 8 if you can. And the inhale will go through the nose. The exhale can go out the nose or out the mouth, whichever one you prefer. So let's do that about 5 or 6 times, okay? Your eyes can be open or closed. It's up to you. So go ahead and release that breath. So if this is all you had time to do, this would resettle you in the moment. But if you have time, the next step is probably as important. And the next step is to actually do what Tara says, invite whatever you're feeling to tea. And she calls it the Mara. Invite the Mara, and that must be from ancient Tibetan or Buddha, but invite whatever it is to tea. In other words, nourish it, befriend it. So go back to whatever that was that seemed overwhelming and just say, all right, I'm inviting you in. It's okay. Come have a cup of tea with me. You're part of me. I don't have to deny you and push you away. So mine might be fear over my latest gut issue. Somebody else might be, just too much to do. Invite that feeling that goes with too much to do into you, or not feeling enough, or judging yourself, or all that. Befriend it. have a cup of tea with it. If you have a cup, you could even take a sip. So what we often do is just breathe through it and then move on with our day, but it's still sitting there. And if you start to bring it in and get present with it and ground with it, it's going to diminish. These are our demons that are larger than life because we really don't want to befriend them. They're part of us. So go ahead and befriend it so that it diminishes its power over you. So hopefully this small practice is helpful, and you can do it really anytime. Just don't close your eyes in the breathing if you're in the car feeling this overwhelm. Let's go ahead and stand up and do some standing postures. So when you have a back issue, a low back issue, there are many things that are contraindicated and a lot of things that are very helpful. A lot of times the going this way is more helpful than going this way. And the reason going this way can be damaging is because we don't have the core strength to keep our back supported. So go this way, but when you go this way, pull the belly in and don't round, lengthen. Lengthen as far down as you can. See how much I'm bending my knees? And in fact, some of you might be able to bend your knees so much that you can actually lay your belly on the thighs and soften here. This is a safe way to do a forward fold with back issues. And it does lengthen your back. It does engage the core. So if you tried that, come back up, lengthen the spine again, and come all the way up to standing. Put your hands on the back, open up the chest. And when you're doing this back bend, don't do like that. Do up, lift it, lift it, lift it, elongate. And then if you want to try this again, pull the core in, have your knees bent. Some of you might just be coming to here. Some of you might be coming all the way down, softening head, neck, and shoulders, but supporting the back by leaning on your thighs. Make your way back up again, come halfway, stand all the way up, support the low back, lift the chin, and lengthen, and shake it out. Just maybe walk around or, march in place, move in any way that feels comforting. The other thing that can be super helpful for low back issues is a wide-legged forward fold. And if you don't want to fold all the way to the ground in a wide-legged forward fold, you could be wide-legged and then folding to a chair. I'm going to go sideways also so you can see. So once again, my back is lengthened. I'm not rounding. I'm pulling the belly in. And you could just go to here. And some of you might want to go all the way down. So what this does is also helps with the hamstrings, because the hamstrings that are tight is often a problem for people with low back issues. It's a contributory factor. All right, come on up, release that, and shake it out, walk around, march in place, do something that feels nourishing. So moving the spine sideways can be helpful too. And really what we're doing here is we're loosening the muscles that are on either side of the spine. So if you have neck issues, it's great to start this with your arms behind your head, tilting one elbow up, one elbow down, and coming back to neutral. Trying to get the other elbow up, the other elbow down, and neutral. Breathing and neutral. And breathing and neutral. Now, if you want to go a little deeper, take a hand down and slide the hand down the leg. Go a little deeper and neutral. A little deeper and neutral. Another round of this. Now, if you don't have neck issues and want to go further, and this would be a great way to honor the full moon, such a beautiful moon, you would go with both hands up, the center, to the center. Now, leave both hands up for a second, and then twist your upper body by following your hand. Soften your knees, and draw your arm behind you and look behind you. Bring that back up. And then twist your upper body, soften the knees, and go the other way. This is a different way to twist. Now shake it out. Move your shoulders around. Move your shoulders the other way. And then I want you to walk in a specific way. I want the left leg and the right shoulder to go forward. And then the right leg, left shoulder to go forward. It's a very exaggerated kind of walk. If you were walking down the street, people would think you're crazy. It's kind of a model's walk on a runway. But it's very good to train the hip and the shoulder to move opposite of each other instead of in unison. Because when we have back issues or just an aging, we tend to favor like one side. I'm walking out of the camera. I guess I should extend my zoom. All right, so just walk around a little bit. Okay. All right. So while we're standing, let's do a balance. And the balance, again, is up to you. You know, this is already a balance. If I'm putting all the weight on one leg and just being on the ball of the other foot, I'm already balancing. And if that's what you can do today, do it like that. If you can go further, you lift the leg. If you want to do some activity with the leg, you could go out and in. But any one of these things are choices for you today on how you are feeling and what would be most beneficial. Some of you might want to do weird things with your arms just to test your balance a little bit more. And then go ahead and transfer the weight between both legs. Let's work the other side. You may just start and you may stay here just with the weight on one leg, the ball of the foot, where that's where the weight is. Maybe you want to lift. Maybe this is where you are today. Maybe you're going to move it around a little bit. Maybe your balance is feeling pretty good today and you want to test it a little bit. Maybe you want to do weird things with your arms, like you're trying to hold things and do things. Okay, and then transfer the weight between both legs again. So draw the leg now up behind you if you're going to. So you could just go onto the ball of the foot behind or bend the knee behind. Some of you might want to go further and turn this into dancer's pose. Some of you might not. If you're doing dancer's pose, you're grabbing the ankle and you're leaning over. Any one of these steps in between are what is appropriate for you to do. You pick what's appropriate. Some of you might be leaning over, smiling if you're falling over. And then go ahead and release that. Transfer your weight between both legs. And then again, it could be just like that. That's already a balance. It could be lifting up the leg. That's another form of the balance. It could be grabbing the foot. It could be leaning over. Any one of these things that are appropriate for you today, go ahead and do. This is where you have the choice. And go ahead and put that leg down. You might need to rub your legs a little bit if you hadn't stretched out these quads in a while. We don't do as many quad stretches as we do hamstring stretches in life. So you might have very tight quads, especially if you do a lot of walking. All right, everybody feeling all right? Let's go ahead and make our way. If you can, do hands and knees. If hands and knees is not appropriate for you today, then you'll do these things seated. If you are wanting to, go ahead and make your way through one sun salutation through a downward dog. So inhaling, arms up. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling halfway, lengthening that spine. Exhaling, do that forward fold that I said is safe for the back. If you're doing a downward dog, go ahead into a dog. I am not doing a floor dog these days very much, but I like doing a chair dog. So I'm going to do my chair dog. And then wherever you are, go ahead and make your way comfortably to hands and knees. If you can. If hands and knees are not working, any one of these things can be done seated because we're just doing some safe somatic cat-cows, which are really not even called cat-cow. They are called red light, green light, or arch and curl. Okay. So the first thing I'd like for you to do here is notice how your back is feeling when you're just like this. Does this bother your back at all? And if it bothers your back, make some mini adjustments. Maybe your hands need to go wider. Maybe they need to go further away. Play around with this till you find something that feels appropriate. We're going to slide back and forth. So when you're sliding back, if you tend to get foot cramps, tuck your toes in. Slide back, lengthening the spine, don't round it. Slide forward. Slide back, you have to pull your navel in. And slide forward. Slide back. And forward. And slide back. And forward. Now, the next one is this hip hike thing. Now, if you're hiking your hip, it looks like I'm just swinging my butt. Swing the butt toward a shoulder and maybe look over that shoulder. This is the same thing we do on our backs for hiking the hip. Swing the butt toward the other shoulder, look over that shoulder. Swing it. It's also known as a C curve. Shoulder, swing it, shoulder. And now we'll do a few Gentle Somatic Yoga versions of cat-cow. So when you inhale, your belly drops, but your chin drops as well. When you exhale, come through neutral, So make sure this is neutral. And exhale, draw the belly in, raise the shoulders to the neck, lift the chin. So there should be some tension, but then release everything back to neutral. Inhaling, drop the belly, curve the back, drop the chin. Come through neutral. Exhale, pull the belly in. Lift the shoulders to the ears. Lift the chin. Now for a second, tense up every muscle there is in your body. Feel what tension feels like. And then your only job is to release one muscle at a time. And if you're on your hands and knees, you're pushing back to some sort of child pose. If you're not on hands and knees, you're just releasing a muscle at a time. So I'm going to start down here. I'm going to release the muscles near my buttocks and thighs. Then I'm going to release the muscles at my hips. And then I'm going to release the muscles at the small of my back. Next, I'm going to release the muscles around the ribs. Then I'm going to release the muscles at the top of my back. I'm going to see if I'm totally released now. Is every muscle released, or am I still holding on? And breathe here. Now, if you have osteoporosis, your butt is more in the air. You're not rounding as much at the lower back, but you're still released, muscles released, and breathing. All right. Let's come to seated for a mudra practice. And then really the rest of our back work we'll do on the ground. So find your way into any comfortable seated pose. I found this mudra the other day, and believe it or not, I've been using this book for years. This is the first time I've ever done this mudra. And it's so cool because it's the gesture of setting Dharma in motion for balancing all 5 elements. So it works on all levels of you. And I love the fact that it balances all 5 elements. Okay, so the hands look like you're cupping your fingers, and all you're doing is touching the cupped fingers to each other. And then the edges of your thumbs are touching each other. So you're kind of making like a little cave or tent. That's what it looks like. It's like a little tent. Like the fingers, and then this is the thumbs of the door of the tent. And then you're resting your hands somewhere on your body, or if this gets tiring, you can put them on your lap, okay? So just take a minute and breathe with your hands in this position. If you don't mind closing your eyes and just noticing where your breath is going. So our bodies are comprised of all 5 elements, and their balance is an essential foundation of health. When the elements are balanced, we experience integration and harmony at all levels of our being. One of the most effective methods for integrating all the elements is combining this mudra practice with a guided meditation called Bhuta Shuddhi, or purification of the elements. So that is what we're doing today. So the mudra is called the Dharma Pravartana Mudra. Dharma means truth. Pravartana means to set in motion. So the Dharma Pravartana refers to the Buddha setting the wheel of truth in motion through his teachings. The mudra sets in motion the process of transformation leading toward health, healing, and awakening through balancing the 5 elements. The gesture facilitates full yogic breathing optimizing the functioning of all systems of your body while cultivating an overall sense of integration and harmony. The mudra opens and integrates the first 6 chakras and all 5 pranavayus, resulting in an overall sense of energetic well-being, supporting the health of all the systems of your physical body. All right, your guided meditation, balancing the 5 elements. As you hold the Dharma Pravartana Mudra, take several natural breaths, tuning into all the feelings and the sensations awakened by the gesture. Notice how your breath is flowing freely throughout your entire torso, from the pelvic floor to the top of the chest, and then back down again. As you follow the flow of your breathing, sense a growing equilibrium throughout your entire being, balancing all of the elements. We will bring awareness to each of the 5 elements individually. That will help integrate all their essential qualities and help you cultivate harmony with all dimensions of your being. Begin by visualizing a yellow square at the base of your body. This square is the seat of the earth element. From here, envision a landscape spreading out from the square. It has all the features of the earth: mountains, plains, valleys, deserts, forests. As you embody the earth element, take several breaths, smell its rich fragrance, absorb the quality of stability. This allows you to continue your journey in absolute safety. Next, visualize an orange circle within your pelvis, the home of the water element. Envision all the forms of water spreading out from this circle of life at the center of your being. Oceans and seas, rivers and lakes and streams, clouds and rain, all renewing life's ever-flowing stream. As you embody the water element, take some time to savor its essential quality of fluidity, helping you cultivate the ease, allowing you to flow with all of life's changes. Next, visualize an upward-facing golden triangle at your solar plexus, the seat of the fire element. Envision the rays of an inner sun spreading out from this triangle. This is filling your entire being with light, warmth, and energy. As the golden rays fill your being, take some time to clarify your vision. See your life purpose clearly, while receiving the energy and the vitality to manifest it completely. Now visualize an emerald, 6-pointed, at the center of your chest. This is the seat of the air element. Envision a meadow of green unfolding from your heart, with wildflowers swaying softly in the breeze. As the air element caresses your being, take all the time you need to sense some lightness and ease permeating your thoughts and feelings. This allows you to embrace life completely with compassion and sensitivity. A luminous white full moon now arises within your throat center, the seat of the space element. This opens a doorway through which you perceive the vastness of the universe with all of its stars and galaxies unfolding and expanding infinitely. Rest in the vastness of space. Take several breaths, tuning into the inherent spaciousness of your being, releasing all that limits your infinite possibilities. Now direct your breath to the eyebrow center. Visualize there a blue pearl, a symbol of integration of all of the elements. As you integrate the energy from your eyebrow center, sense all the elements aligned and balanced within your being, bringing perfect harmony. Affirm your integration by repeating the following 3 times, aloud or silently. With all 5 elements balanced, I experience perfect harmony. With all 5 elements balanced, I experience perfect harmony. With all 5 elements balanced, I experience perfect harmony. Release the fingers, move them around, gently blinking, open the eyes, returning and sensing greater harmony throughout your entire being. We will make our way to our backs. You might want to spread a blanket out to allow your limbs to slide more easily. If you need something small under your head, you might want to put something under your head. Make sure you have rooms to do a variety of things with your arms if you can. So position yourself in a way where your arms are free to move. Okay. So start with your knees bent, feet on the ground. If you can, arms are out to the side. If there's not enough room for your arms to go out to the side, you could place them in a cactus position, which is bent elbows, with the backs of the hands on the ground. If that's uncomfortable, place a pillow or something behind your head to elevate. And open up the legs. So if either in that position or with arms completely out to the side, open the legs. And as you open the legs, turn the pinky toward the sky. So if you're up like this, you're just going to be coming up on your hands. If you're wide, the pinky's going toward the sky. Tuck the chin in. Create a space under your low back. And then as you bring the knees together, turn the hands inside out, rolling the shoulders forward, lifting the chin to the sky. This is a flower. Inhaling, turn the pinkies to the sky. Oh, tuck the chin in here. Your low back is slightly off the ground. Your knees are wide. Gently roll your knees together. Turn your hands inside out, rolling the shoulders forward. Lift the chin. One more time. Pinkies to sky, chin tucks, knees out. Back is off the ground slightly. And last time, back presses to the ground, knees come together, shoulders come up, chin lifts. Stretch out just for a moment. Check in. See how the left and right sides are feeling. You might even do a shift, the right hip up, the hip hike. Lengthen that foot, lengthen that leg, shift the left hip. So when I say up, it's not up to the sky, it's up towards your rib cage. So you're sliding these on the ground. Very subtle movement. Kind of what we did when we were on hands and knees. These are hip lifts. All right, shake that out. Now engage one leg. If you want to do what I'm doing, you can engage the left leg. Imagine you're standing on that leg. Don't press it too tight so you feel pain. Allow the right leg to just loosely go out. Slide up the mat so the knee is out to the side. You're on the outer edge of the foot. Flatten the foot, point the knee to the sky. Allow the knee to cross over your midline. Lift your whole right side a little bit off the ground. Now you're on the inside of the foot. Allow the foot to go back down and shake things out. Now engage the right leg. Repeat this to the other side. Softly let the foot go out. Slide up into a version of tree pose. Flatten the foot, knee points to the sky. Cross the knee over your midline so your whole left hip comes off the ground. You're on the inside of the left foot. Slide it back. Repeat this one more time, starting at the first side. We're loosening up all the muscles around this hip area. A lot of low back problems are related to hip issues. So low back problems can be related to hamstring issues. They can be related to hip issues. And even if you've been diagnosed with something, particularly on your spine, working all these other areas can release tension around the low back. All right, check in again, see how things are feeling. Draw one knee into the chest, the other leg can either be flat or you can bend it and place the foot on the ground. This is our nerve flossing routine. Lift the leg to the sky and point the toes. Lower that leg and flex. Lift and point. Lower and flex. Lift and point. Lower and flex. Repeat to the other side. Lift and point. Lower and flex. Lift and point. Lower and flex. Lift and point. Lower and flex. Place both feet on the ground. We'll do some pelvic rocking. So press into your feet, into your feet, into your feet. When you press, allow the hips to roll toward the feet. Notice a space under your low back. And then press the low back to the ground. Allow the hips to come closer to the rib cage. Rock forward, pressing into the feet. Rock back. Flattening. So you should be getting rid of space under your low back when you come back. So the next time you rock back, make sure the toes and the feet are firmly planted on the ground. lift up 1/8 of an inch. Rock forward again. The next time you roll back, lift up 1/4 of an inch. Roll forward again. The next time you come back, lift up 1/2 an inch. Come forward again. And keep doing this until you reach the point where it no longer feels good. So some of you might be coming all the way up eventually. Others of you may only get to the bottom of your rib cage. You determine what feels right. But you're going 1/2 an inch, 1/4 of an inch at a time, and you're rolling forward each time. Making sure to keep your feet firmly planted on the ground. Notice if your toes are coming off the ground or if you're rolling on the outer edges of your feet. Don't do that. Keep your feet firmly planted. These little moves, which are not very showy, are some of the most effective moves for releasing chronic pain and for changing the neural connections between the brain and the muscles. All right, whenever you have had enough of that, you might stretch out again, check in, and see how things are feeling. Now, I promise we will get to a little upper body work. We can do that on the ground by just allowing your head to gently turn side to side a few times. Don't lift the head off the ground. So that's your pre-check. Now place your hands behind your neck, elbows off to the side, and we'll do a, a mini bridge. Lift up the hips, and then lift the head up slightly, lower the hips, lower the head, release tension in the shoulders. Do this 2 more times. Lift the hips into a mini bridge, lift the head up slightly, lower the hips, lower the head, release tension. Last time, lift the hips, lift the head up slightly, lower the hips first, lower the head, release tension. Let your hands go, turn your head side to side. So we contract the muscle first to send a signal of safety to the brain before we release it. So now turn your chin off maybe 15 degrees toward the right. Place the hands behind the neck again. We're going to do the same thing with a slightly turned head to the right. Lift the hips, lift the head, lower the hips, lower the head, release tension in the shoulders. Lift the hips, lift the head, lower the hips, lower the head. Last time, lift the hips, lift the head, lower hips, lower head, release arms from behind the neck. Allow your head to turn further to the right. You should have a little more range of motion. Come back to the center. Turn your head slightly to the left. Interlace the hands behind the head again. We'll do 3 to this side. Lift the hips, lift the head, lower the hips,
lower the head. Number 2, hips lift first, then the head, lower and lower. Number 3, lift the hips, lift the head, lower the hips, lower the head, release the arms from behind your head, allow the head to gently turn to the left. See if there's more range of motion there. And then just let the head turn side to side. Do not lift it off the ground. And if you can, if you have enough room, spread your arms out in a T. If you don't, place them with the palms facing the sky in a bent arm position over the head. And allow the legs to rock to the left. You could look to the right. You could turn that right palm over if your arm's out to the side. If it's not out to the side, don't try to do this with your arms above your head. Eyes could be closed or open. Do a gentle rocking motion. Change the width of the legs. If your legs are wide, maybe draw them in closer. If they're close, draw them wider. Maybe experiment with a different arm position. One thing that I really enjoy doing is when my legs are going one direction, I take the opposite arm and lengthen it up above my head on the ground, palm up, and then draw the arm back down, and then take the other arm. So you're getting under your armpits as well. All right, come back to stillness. You could either stretch out to check in or keep your knees bent. Just notice how your body is feeling, particularly your back body, which has been worked a lot, but in a very safe way. For those of you who enjoy this, you could draw knees in. You could either bring feet up to the sky or keep them bent. And you could sway side to side, massaging the hips. That feels good. Maybe a circling might feel good. Now, if anytime this doesn't feel right for you, you can always do this with the feet on the ground and still kind of sway and get a massage. The other thing that you could do, which I find incredibly healing, is to place either a rolled blanket or some sort of bolster under my low back and either draw knees, legs up, or even just stretch out over it. If you stretch out over it, you're getting the psoas. And the psoas is a very interesting muscle because it connects to the lumbar spine. So it crosses over the hips down here by the pubic bone and then goes over and back to the lumbar spine. So this is kind of the equivalent of doing a back bend as well. For some people, this might be too high. You might just roll a blanket slightly. And if that is feeling good, you could also draw a leg in. That could feel pretty nice as well. And then if you're doing what I'm doing, do the other side. So I am stretching out one leg And then drawing the other one up in the air. And this gets the front of the opposite hip. It's really nice. So you could choose to do a restorative pose on the ground or on the sofa or wherever you are by creating somewhat of a ledge like that, or even using 2 blocks, 1 block like this and 1 block like this over whatever you're using. The thing to watch out for here is if your hips are hurting when you have too much of a curve there. So sometimes what I do is I then have a blanket for my butt. So my butt will be on here. My low back is going right up whatever I've created here. And if your arms feel too far from the ground, or if this is too much for the shoulders, you could actually have pillows on both sides to lean your arms on. Then you have to decide how you want your legs. So you could widen the feet and have the knees toward each other. You could bring the feet together and let the knees go wide and put something under each thigh. You could stretch the legs out completely. So whichever one feels the best for you. The only other thing that you might need, depending on your head, is maybe something supporting your neck more. So there's a lot of little adjustments in this pose, but it's worth the time and effort. It's just a lovely restorative pose, particularly for the back. And while you're all settled in enjoying it, I'll grab our reading for today. So this comes from Tara Brach. I am a big, big fan of hers. I listen to her weekly meditations and I purchase her books and courses all the time because everything she says resonates with me. This one's called The Second Arrow. One day, it is said, the Buddha was talking to a group of his followers about our habit of being down on ourselves when something goes wrong, and how that only imprisons us in suffering. Noticing that one of the young men there looked puzzled, he invited them forward and asked, "If a person is struck by an arrow, is it painful?" Probably thinking that this was pretty obvious, the student responded, "Well, yes, it is." Nodding, the Buddha went on, "And if that same person is then struck by a second arrow, would that be even more painful?" The student replied, "Yes, it would be." The Buddha then explained, in life, difficulty naturally arises. Things don't go as we wish, or we have an accident, or we get sick. We can't always control the first painful arrow. However, he went on, we can add to our pain by the way we react to what's happening. He added that we might feel victimized or angry about life being unfair, or we might blame ourselves for our poor self-care. Our reaction is the second arrow.
and it intensifies our suffering, said the Buddha. We become identified with a suffering self. The young man nodded, now understanding how painful the added emotional reactivity can be. It's helpful to remember that the first arrow in this story is not only the unpleasant feeling we experience when something goes wrong in our lives. The first arrow can actually be the emotional pain we feel when we're angry or afraid, when we feel grief or hatred. It can be the pain of depression or even lust. And when we then respond by blaming ourselves for these already painful feelings, we are shooting the second arrow. As we awaken compassion for ourselves and release shame and self-judgment, we free ourselves from this suffering and heal our hearts. So your reflection today is the next time fear or anger arises, invite it to tea. Try holding it with compassion rather than shooting the second arrow of painful self-judgment and blame. So this signals the end of our time together today. I put the bowl sound on so you could hear the bowl. And I actually have another musical instrument I forgot to bring up today that I'm going to play with. Gather in any parts of today's practice that were helpful to you. Draw your hands into the heart. Let's acknowledge each other and say namaste.